Where did the fire in my heart first ignite? Fittingly, with the burning of my village. A rival house came upon us, murdered my family, destroyed my home. There was no force in existence that could quell the rage burning deep within me. I relished tearing into their flesh with my bare hands. We ausmer mons are much larger than our ausmerlos kin, taller, bulkier, and according to the highborns, dimmer. When the blood of House Yobaz stained the soil beneath me, I fell limp. I watched my home as it was consumed by the blaze. I know not how long I sat there before Lord Gonterish approached me with a legion of House Salkon warriors. He was shocked to find I was the only survivor. A single peasant farmer dispatching a legion of trained warriors. It seemed inconceivable even for a Mons. But he saw that my thirst for vengeance had not been quenched. He extended a hand and asked me,
"What do they call you, sir?"
"Trak, my lord."
"You forget your title, sir."
"I am lowborn, my lord. I hold no titles."
House Salkon cares not if you are lowborn or highborn. So, I ask again, sir, what do they call you?
I am called Trak of House Salkon, my lord. I kneeled before him and placed my arm across my chest in ceremonial salute.
Then rise, Trak Salkon, and accompany me in spilling House Yobaz's blood.
Lord Gonterish cared not for what form our gods chose to sculpt me. He judged me for the determination I carried within my heart. He mentored me, taught me the ways of battle as both warrior and commander. For the mind is the greatest weapon a warrior possesses. Of course, such special treatment led to tensions among my peers. Zoskvan had made his disdain for my presence ever so clear.
Mons belong on the battlefield, not in the war room. Your mind is too shallow to draw strategy for our armies.
Perhaps you require a demonstration of Trak's abilities, then. As of today, Trak will take command of your armies, and you will act as his second.
His decision even gave me pause. But still, I led our armies with pride. Zosk remained with me every step of the way. Together we discovered that House Yobaz had allied with House Zevanor. Their armies outnumbered us 4-1.
This is a fool's errand. We'll never last against a force that size.
Not in a direct fight, no. But look there. They head towards the valley. A perfect funnel to negate their superior numbers. And there are several mountain passes along the trail that will put us on their flank. It will divide and confuse them.
It is a sound strategy. I will rally my troops.
We battled the horde and raised our banners in victory on that day. My pride soared ever so high when Zosk kneeled before me.
Lord Traksa, our victory on this day belongs to you, and I am proud to have served under you.
I admit that my arrogance took hold of me in that moment. I wanted nothing more than to taunt him, to make him feel shame for the words he spoke to me. But Gonterish was standing there watching me, and I had not the spirit to disappoint him. I kneeled before Zosk and offered him a salute befitting of a commander. You serve the honor of House Salkon, and no one else, my brother. Our rivalries had been set aside for a bond forged in blood and fire. Though we still could not stand against the combined might of Houses Yobaz and Zevanor alone. We required allies of our own. So we called upon the aid of our neighboring houses, who dispatched their envoys to discuss terms. And that is where I first saw her. Froon of House Shaw, my Froonshaw. I was smitten immediately, taken by her otherworldly beauty. Her smile melted me. Her words were sweeter than trium nectar.
Am I so intimidating that I've warranted such a long, scrutinizing gaze from you, good sir?
And her wit sharp enough to cut through steel. I declared myself her most arduous admirer, and dedicated every victory on the battlefield to her. Our feelings for one another blossomed with each passing day. But of course our quest for allies was not all so savory. For this is where the Lokdeng finally rear their heads. They sent an ambassador, Sir Lok the Wise. He claimed that House Zevanor was raiding their resources in order to supply the war effort against House Salkon. It seemed we had a mutual enemy. With our newfound allies, we were confident the war would soon be won, and my family finally avenged. But it was bittersweet, as Gonterish fell deathly ill. I watched helplessly as my mentor began to wither away before my eyes. But a warrior's place is on the battlefield, not in a dying man's bedchambers. House Yobaz invaded the hold of House Kress. They offered their support in the war if House Salkon would liberate them. I marched a legion of warriors to House Kress and sent the bastards of House Yobaz to their graves. But honor had withered among House Kress. They refused to lend the support they promised us, and when I told them I would not leave without their promise of aid, they took us captive. I lost track of time, but they told me I spent 2 months in that cell before Zosk led an assault on House Kress and freed me. But the news Zosk brought with him halted the desire for any celebration. Gonterish was murdered by a Yobaz assassin during my imprisonment. Vile beasts! Had their souls become so tarnished that they'd taken to gutting the sick and elderly on their deathbeds? I returned to find all of House Salkon in mourning. Gonterish had no heirs. The future of our house was uncertain and my people cried out for justice. Confused and heartbroken, they placed me upon the throne of my mentor. I could only hope that one day I would live up to his example. I later married my Frunshaw and secured an alliance between our houses. And with the aid of the Lokdeng, we finally crushed House Yobaz underneath our heel, securing my family's vengeance. And of course the Lokdeng took advantage of our battle fatigue. They demanded our fealty for services rendered. We submitted to their rule willingly. The ausmer became the first of their thralls. The event you know as the Long 87 was made possible by our servitude to the Empire. This was once a point of pride for me, but now it is my greatest shame. Emperor Orin showed his favor to me, blessing me with command over the fleet of ruthless devotion and integrating me into his culture. Perhaps a part of me was still yearning for the affection of my mentor, for I could not see Orin's deception until it was too late. He revealed many damning secrets, ones I dare not even share now. He groomed me into a true believer of the Empire, my devotion so great that I modified my name to meet Lokdeng standards. I proudly led my fleet across the galaxy, extinguishing billions of lives in the name of the Lokdeng. But the ausmer were nothing more than a blunt instrument to them. I watched my brothers die every day for beliefs not their own, and for oaths they did not swear. Our efforts were what allowed the Empire to flourish and subjugate every species across our galaxy for 87 years. And when the dam finally broke, when the thralls cast aside their shackles and the Long 87 ended, what did I do? I continued to serve a failing empire for almost 2 decades. Perhaps it is because we truly did prosper under their rule during the Long 87. The ausmer were cared for, our resources plentiful, our wants few. But as the empire's borders began to shrink, so too did its resources. Emperor Oren's ego would not allow him to surrender to the so-called lesser races. He demanded everything of the ausmer, one of his few remaining loyal servants. Our people were put to work on his war machine, halting any and all of our agricultural industry, ensuring we would starve if we did not raid the resources from our enemies. But raids alone could not feed an entire species. I watched as my people began to starve in the streets while the Lokdeng blissfully bathed in their nutrient pools. Oren had the gall to invite me and my family to a feast at the height of their suffering. I refused. My Frunshaw took to the duties of supplying our people with what little we had. Together we agreed that the people would eat before us. If there wasn't enough for everyone, then we too would starve alongside them. How had it come to this? My people put their trust in me. They fought alongside me because they once believed me strong and wise. But now they starved because I allowed myself to become blind to their suffering.
This burden does not lay on your shoulders alone. They follow you because they still believe in you. You've seen the end of the path that they march, and know it will only lead to their destruction. You will only have failed them if you do not use your power to change their course.
I have not the strength anymore. I am as lost as they are. I wish Gaunterish were here.
They still yearn for the spirit of Gaunterish, just as you do. But unlike you, they see that he lives on inside of you. His mind, his heart, his ambition. The greatest pieces of him that existed were passed on to you when he departed from this life. If the ausmer are to stand against the Empire, then it must be you who rallies them.
And at last my Frunshaw had opened my eyes. Why should we continue bleeding for those who won't bleed for us? Why continue killing in the name of gods we do not worship? Why continue fighting under the banner of an empire that subjugated our people? The first to join and the last to defect, we cast aside our shackles. For why should we be impoverished to pay off our debts to an emperor who had become too weak to rule us? But of course, with our defiance came consequences. Oren caught the scent of my treachery, and I returned home once more, only to find my hold in ruins. And what I saw among the blazing fires brought me to my knees. She lay there, unmoving, her dress stained with blood and her mouth hanging open. I looked up to the heavens and wailed out the broken shards of my freshly shattered heart. My Frunshaw, murdered. I was broken once more, sitting in silence among the smoldering ruins of my home. But I was not alone. Zosk, as well as every warrior that followed me, swore retribution for this atrocity. We named ourselves the Frunshaw, a fist of vengeance in the honor of my love. For all who will hear my tale know this. When the Empire breaks, I will personally nail the Emperor to the bow of my ship, his body facing his home planet, so that he may watch his empire die. Vengeance will be delivered by Traksa The Merciless, but it will belong to the Frunshaw, my Frunshaw.